Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spin Rack. It's Mars here. I'm here with my boys Petey and Cal. Say what's up, gents.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, ready to rock?
Hey, today we're coming with this ridiculously controversial story, and this is why we shouldn't always listen to social media. That Sony is thinking of selling Spider-Man to Marvel. Utterly ridiculous. But you know what? I'm gonna kick it over to my boy Cal. Cal, what's your take on this madness?
Well, I always figured they would do it eventually. I just don't think it's going to happen right now. I mean, the last time I checked, Sony with not the other properties, not necessarily Venom or Craven, definitely not Madam Web, but overall, they've been profitable with, with Spider-Man as a license, for film. That's the only film they do. Sony's not really known for doing anything else film wise. So as long as it's profitable for them and they can manage it, and they still have an agreement with Marvel, I just don't see them selling it right now. But I do see them selling it eventually.
I think
Yo, what's your take on it, Petey?
I just looked online. They were talking about that Spider-Man makes so much money, like over $1 billion, in comparison to the other characters that Well, if they could get some X-Men movies out, maybe the X-Men would overtake Spider-Man. But with that amount of money they're making, and I don't feel like as long as you're making money off of anything Marvel makes and anything that's licensed, and they have their own, things that work like the Spider Verse and that sort of stuff, and the video games, which I think someone here is pointing out on the thread that the Spider-Man video games are killing. So when we have this thing, but at the same time, I would like to bring up, I know Marvel was doing, like, we have the movies that done bad for Sony, like Craven and Morbius, and definitely Mad Web,
And,
everything like
and,
hmm?
and everything else. I said, and everything else.
Yeah. So like you had the
Anything not
Oh,
Spider-Man.
except for Venom, the Venom ones, first Venom did as well as Homecoming. The other ones, maybe I think the second one did maybe a little more than the first one, but the Spider-Man movies obviously with post Infinity War and all of the connection to Iron Man got to the billion, and then actually Marvel doing the what Sony wanted to do, which was a Sinister Six with the Sony versions of the characters, just slightly dolled up a little more. So they gave it was kind of a mix of both. So I say all that to say, we can't necessarily trust Sony with other stuff outside of their Spider-Man movies because they've had successful Spider-Man movies. But right now, we can't trust Marvel, right? We can't really trust Marvel because Deadpool isn't Marvel Studios. That's Ryan Reynolds. If it was up to Marvel, She-Hulk would be in it, Ms. Marvel would be in it. Those all these other characters would be in it, and you know, who's in Ryan Reynolds kind of picked the characters that he wanted, and characters that were kind of verboten to be in these things. The original Blade, Elektra, and Gambit that the Fox didn't want to do. So I don't think, in my mind, I'm going to bring up to something else. Is like, do we trust Marvel now? Do we trust Marvel to get the back and us giving us Spider-Man that we want? We get the new Spider-Man. I think they're talking about the next one, and Tom Holland. Do you guys feel like we can trust Marvel with Spider-Man? Because I struggle with these Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, I
Can we
think we
trust
can
Marvel?
trust Marvel. I think Marvel is part of the special sauce that keeps the Spider-Man franchise going on. But I mean, look, Sony has made over $9 billion alone in the movies, in just the films. Spider-Man is what after the MCU, Star Wars, James Bond, Batman. Spider-Man is the next largest franchise, grossing franchise in the world. So I mean, just think about that. Top five. Top of that, video games just sold over 33 million of its own video games, and video games going from $30 to $60 depending. And there's been like four specific iterations of the video game. So you're talking about Sony has made bank. Spider-Man has been one of their central games in their PlayStation, right? And they've been one of their films. So without Spider-Man, you have two huge levers that they would be losing. It's like basically like what Marvel did when Marvel was bankrupt, which Sony is not, where they sold some of their crown jewels, Spider-Man, X-Men, um, Hulk, Fantastic Four. I can't imagine Sony doing this. It makes absolutely no sense. Remember, they practically went to war with Marvel, but Marvel insisted they need to get bigger share of the Spider-Man revenues, right? Where they're like they cut off all ties, blah 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 blah. They try to do their own thing, and finally, only because it didn't work, did they capitulate and make a deal with Marvel. But
What did no?
it
Wait,
just
no, no, no. The Spider-Mans did not saying they wanted to get to a number. They didn't get to the number. They never got to. They got to the number after the whole success of the Avengers. The number they wanted to get to, they got to with the Black Panther. They did
what are you talking
Civil
about? What number are you
War.
talking about?
You're saying they wasn't what's the name did about what? Was it the Amazing Spider-Man 2 didn't get to a billion? They wanted to get to a billion. So they're like, "Hey, with the whole, let's lend it to Civil War. We have the connection to Marvel, and then we get like 600 worldwide, 600 million or so Spider-Man movie. That's not what they were looking for.
Which Spider-Man? You talking about the Tobey Maguire
Homecoming,
Spider-Man?
Homecoming, and they
Homecoming made. I have the number right here. Homecoming made $878 million. All right. The next one in the series, Far From Home, made 1.1 billion, 1.13 billion. No Way Home made 1.9, practically $2
I'm
billion
saying
dollars.
I said the first one was supposed to get them to a billion. That's what I said,
Okay.
right? I said it was supposed to get to, but that's what they wanted for them. And at the same time, when they got to the Black Panther, which was pushed back, that's what got to a billion. Both were in Civil War, right? Spider-Man was the most popular character. That's what they were giving to, but it didn't matter because they know Infinity War, they were going to be making money off of Spider-Man and Infinity War. So makes sense for them to be a part of it. But the initial thing, while they were bringing it in there, was to get to a billion. That's what they wanted to do. And
So is that the impetus for the sale? You're saying, or the
no, I don't
impetus
think.
to
I don't
make
think.
the
I
money?
think. I don't think. I think with the fact that they're making money, and people don't know what the deal is. Some people feel that Marvel's making more now than Sony's making, but at the same time, there's no. This is not a. There's no official response to saying that Sony's going to do it. They put out bad movie or unsuccessful movie because I think, well, no, actually, I don't think I would go to see Venom. I saw it on the plane, but when I saw it, I said I should have saw it because it was a fun movie. Morbius was okay. Craven looked okay. Madam Web, they didn't even have the characters and the costumes throughout the movie. It's setting up for the next movie, and every time you try to do a setup to get to another movie, say we're going to develop later, it's a chance that you're never going to make it. It's a, kind of, like when they did there's supposed to be two Superman movies back to back. While they were shooting, they had a movie in hand that they could put out and say, this is a movie. So it's like you didn't have to wait for the second one. So in doing what they've been doing, it's been kind of missing. So I get it why people feel like they have a lot more misses than hits, even though their Spider-Man movies have been pretty successful. The problem is they're making just too much money to give it up. And
And it makes sense because I mean, and I didn't even include the Venom movies. The Venom movies have made almost $1.8 billion together. I mean, so you're talking about, you know, very successful franchise for. I mean, they've made. If looking to this, you're almost close to 11 to 12 billion dollars in Spider-Man movies alone, including Into the Spider-Verse. So why are they going to give that up? Like I said, two of their main platforms selling. Remember the whole reason they got into the movie business, Columbia, is because they wanted to sell what more. What was it they used to sell? Was it the Betamax? And CD players they used to sell, and of course the PlayStation. So those two things were what they were selling. Sony is a hardware company, and they got those software, and they were very successful to sell their programs. So I can't see that happening because their thing is that they sell one of their stars, people may not come back to it.
yeah. And as you were
Cal,
saying,
sorry, Petey.
no, no, I was just saying, as you were saying, why numbers were off. It's both of them were at 800. So you had Homecoming, as you said, was the 800, and then what's the name is just a little bit under at 850. So Venom is they're
Which one?
very close. The first Venom was 850. So it feels comparable that they could have made us the third Spider-Man, which was going to be a Sinister Six movie anyway, which they just said, hey, well, as long as you give us in the third one, the Sinister Six, we're okay. But then I think Marvel renegotiated to get a little more of it because pretty much most of the money of Spider-Man was just going right to Sony. So they were like, hey, we got a stake in this game. But I think people have inflated it to say Marvel gets more now than Sony. But, who would do that? It might be a 50-50, it might be a 60-40. Most of the time it would be a 60-40 type of deal, Sony in Sony favor. But, Marvel has more hits, so people obviously would believe that you would lean towards Marvel. So.
Yeah, I agree. And there's so much upside for Spider-Man with Sony for Spider-Man because you have the fact that they just renegotiated with what's the name of that kid? Not Tom Welling,
Holland.
Tom Holland, and so they're going to come out with another series of Spider-Man movies, which may be could be very big, and they also have Into the Spider-Verse movie, a continuation that made the first movie made in the $300 million range, the second movie made in the almost 700 million. So if they double it, if they increase it again, it's possible that it'll be the first animated or one of the highest grossing animated movies to make over $1 billion. So
well,
I guess that's probably what's holding it up. So you have a lot of upside there. And then Venom, while yes, they claim this is the end of the trilogy, there's a very strong possibility Venom is going to come up in another movie, which could be a new Spider-Man movie or something else. So there's a lot of potential. So I can't see them saying, "Hey, let's just give this up." When there's a lot of upside potential coming up. And I'm not talking about like the Madam Web movies or the Craven movies. I'm talking about having their franchise players: Spider-Man, Tom Holland, Tom Hardy with Venom, and they introduced the what is it? The god of the king of the
no, I'm not talking about the Spider Totem guy.
yeah, no, that's Spider Totem. I'm talking about
Ezekiel or something like that.
no, the King in Black. They introduced that into the movies in the Venom.
No.
Huh?
No.
No, yeah, no. They introduced no, so a lot of people were.
Oh, okay, that's the character's
name. And then you have Into the Spider-Verse is supposed to become. So you have a lot of potential upside for Sony coming up with a lot of these movies, and I can't see them throwing. And then the video game potential is also big, So I have to rebut this. I mean, I don't know if you guys heard what happened. People said today that Jeff Bezos was supposed to get married, and he literally came out with a statement saying, "You can't believe everything you read." Okay,
wow,
it's not true. Yeah,
especially if you read the Washington Post.
So, but since my friends had asked me to kind of go through this, and Mars, you picked up on it. I want everyone to kind of say, because I struggle with these Spider-Man movies, and I struggle with where Spider-Man's at the end of it, where he's kind of having this sort of a cosmic thing where he can't, his friends don't remember him. And they've been adding these, him fighting being able to fight Doctor Strange and all that sort of thing, unconsciously fight him in his own realm. I struggle with, so I want everyone to say, ultimately, I don't want Sony to sell it back to him. I need for my friends, you guys to state where you want Spider-Man to be. Mars, and Cal, both of you guys state, at the end of the day, no matter who gets most of the profits, and it wouldn't be in Sony's favor to sell, say where you want Spider-Man to be, Marvel or Sony, please.
Marvel.
I will let Cal start, and I'll give you my answer.
I already gave my answer, Marvel.
I like the fact this isn't Sony. I think, and the reason I go that way is because I do like the collaboration. I'm still with that, but I think it's a great thing to have another company that's invested in the property instead of Marvel. I think that when the X-Men were being run by Fox, I think it also helped. I mean, they were able to do things that Marvel wasn't able to do. And even though the budgets may not have been as large, I think they were more experimental in some stuff in stories. They were a little bit more risky. So I think Marvel has a machine that sticks to a certain type of story, a certain type of style in general. And I think I would like to see more spread out. Someone comes up with a new vision in a studio to give things a different try. A great example is some people don't like it, but I thought that the New Mutants movie being treated like a dark hue horror turned out to be a little better. The first time I wasn't too crazy about it, but when I looked at it again, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Um, I like the fact the Apocalypse movie wasn't great, but Days of Future Past I thought was good. And I don't know for sure if Marvel could have pulled it off that way or would have been willing to try something like that. Probably the budget would have been bigger. But I like the fact that other companies have these properties and are trying to try and do something different. The Craven, while it may not be successful, Madam may not be as successful. At least it's someone trying a property. When everything's under one big roof, and look at what's happening to Marvel. They have the X-Men franchise for how many years, and they haven't done anything. And so this is what I'm saying. Those guys have the incentive to push things out because they've been successful.
Well, that's the key point. That's a point that was not in any of my things that I said that I did think about, is the fact that with Marvel having all of the properties, we're getting kind of less. And now with the struggles of the TV, it's kind of like, okay, we're going to give you quality now. It's like, but before, when we had the kind of golden age, we were getting X-Men, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Hulk. Whether good or not, we were going to get another set of movies that were coming out. So now it's like, well, Marvel's like, well, we're going to set to do 2 movies a year, when we could get 4 movies a year from different studios. So that's one of the good things of having it in a separate studio, whereas now Marvel has to figure out how to to manage all of this. But the thing is that they can do their Avengers Doomsday, Avengers Secret Wars. They can do these big sagas with 3 million characters at the end of the movie, but at the same time we get less and less solo movies. But Marvel's insured to getting the billion-dollar sales and having everyone have their little moments in there. So it's I would go back to trying to have solo movies and having people have more movies, like 4 movies a year, whether they be bad or good. Under Marvel, I felt that, buying those things, you'd want to get a profit off of those those movies. And Marvel ultimately, bringing up the New Mutants, they did in their streaming get a profit off of the New Mutants. People were watching it, and people were doing blogs saying, why is the New Mutants making money? Why are people watching this? And ultimately, just to sidebar into that, one of the things is that there's a character, Mirage, who she wasn't she was the leader, but she wasn't visually that strong. And having a movie wrapped around Mirage's power, but done it on an epic scale, they really kind of blew that. They really did a great job. Even though in the theaters it wasn't successful, but on Disney streaming they had something that people were watching. So I just feel like less, and I struggle with Spider-Man, but everyone wanted to know, let's debate. I wanted to be clear that we have 2-4 that they want Marvel to get Spider-Man back, and those type of properties. What Marvel's doing with Spider-Man, they want to see. You guys want to see more of that, and I wish they kind of did more with the second Amazing Spider-Man stuff, because that's what I was liking, but. They think the person who played, since you brought it up, the person who played, who's it? Ilyana Rasputin is going to be in the Spider-Man movies. It's going to be kind of tough with the MJ, who is kind of doing everything. Well, it's kind of doing, what's that thing? The Ultimate Spider-Man. So Ultimate Spider-Man, they introduced Mary Jane, and she was pretty, and then they introduced Gwen Stacy, who they have Spider-Man and Peter Parker. Mary Jane and Peter Parker have a breakup, and then and it's a harsh breakup, and Gwen is there. So it could be we're getting another Gwen, and this one is going to be stunning, and at the same time, the MJ they have can be stunning. It's going to be kind of tough because there's now, what's her name is going to be a starlet immediately. It's kind of just like Liz Allen, where, it feels like Peter Parker, he has standards now. He got these super hot type of girls in these movies. And when you already have a Gwen, the Betty Brant is like the Gwen. That character who plays Betty Brant looks like Gwen. So, but yeah, I just want to make sure that was stated clear. We got 2-4 selling it back. Give it the go, Sony, and sell it back. And you got the one lone voice me saying, "Hey, I struggle with the Tom Holland movies."
But that doesn't say sell it or not sell it. So I
You
don't
guys
know.
are saying sell it, right? You guys are
You're
saying
saying sell it. I'm saying don't sell it.
I'm saying don't sell it. You
I'm
saying
saying don't sell it.
you're saying don't sell. I thought you were saying you said there was good reason not to, but so you're saying
No, I'm all for. I said keep it
Sony to keep
separate. I don't
it.
want it. I don't want them to sell it. I don't
Okay,
want them
I'm
to
sorry,
sell
I
it.
was wrong then. So we got two to let Sony keep it. And do you worry about the movies that they're making though? Who's next? Rhino. I have to play devil's advocate, even though I'm on the side of Sony. Are you worried about the movies that they're making and tanking?
I'm worried about the quality of the movies. They're around the right. They have the right path, but I think they have to make the movies cheaper, and I think they have to make the movies better. I know that's a hard thing to do, but with Craven, which I struggle with Craven because I really like the character. I think there's a great story in there, and I think that what is it? The Last Hunt, I think it was, which is a great story, and I thought that was basically what they were going to do. But of course, they have to change it up because there's no Spider-Man in it, of course. But I think you need to get something where there's a level. They have a bunch of other characters they could have done, and that they could have done with the Craven, and I think they just didn't do. I have problems with that, and I just really wish that Sony really sits down and say, "Hey, instead of doing all these movies, hey, let's do 5 movies, and hey, we have $400 million. We can blow on $80 million on each movie, and it's less than a thing. Let's sit down and say, hey, let's really do a good movie. Sit down and make sure we get a character that people are engaged with, really like, and they really want to see come back. It hasn't. They haven't hit so far. They're throwing those marbles against the. No, they're throwing those. Whatever you throw against the wall, it hasn't hit. All right. But who knows? Probably this is just the opening phrase. So these characters, it depends on what they want to do. If the thing is just introduce these characters with these expensive movies and then bring them back later as the what do you call it? The six.
Sinister Six, another one.
I'm just saying, do a Sinister Six movie and then bring in Spider Man. I don't know. Probably this is what they're saying. Let's act these characters. I don't know what Sony's planning to do, but if that's their goal, all right, we're willing to take these small losses, but we're willing to introduce these characters. And if you want to look at it like that, then probably that may be worth it. An expensive cost, but now you have the Sinister Six collection of 4 or 5 movies, and with this, and now you have Tom Allen coming out. People will be interested. Who knows? I'm just saying, hey, that's how I would sell it. You know, to my boss, especially if I'm losing hundreds of millions of dollars.
All right, so let's close it out.
All right, hey, so if you like what you heard, give us a thumbs up, um, comment, subscribe, spin rack.
We
We're
are
out.
out.